Good evening, everyone. Today we are going to uh, understand the physics behind the magnetron and its role in microwave oven, and also it's extensively used in radars and defense systems and all. So, since microwave oven is closer to you and they are maybe observed day-to-day use, so we will talk about that, how microwave oven works, and also what is the role of magnetron and how what is the physics behind the magnetron. So, in conventional oven, where we'll be using that heating element using electrical current or other type of heating method. So what will happen to the food? This is nothing but a potato. Okay, don't think like some unknown thing, unknown objects, just a potato. So what will happen to that food when we are using the conventional oven? Okay, that I explained here. So heat will transfer from the outside to inside. So if you check the outer layer of the potato, so whatever heat transfer will be maximum. When you go to the core of that potato, it will drop. Okay, so it will be so relatively center is cold compared to the outside surface of the potato. So this is what happens in conventional heating method. So how this happens means through thermal radiation and convection. So thermal radiation means whether we are using the source like heating coil, the coil is heated up through the circulation of electric current, or using coal or something in bakery, would have seen they'll use some oven. So whether using any other heating element or heating source, that heat will be radiated via thermal radiation. That is heat also, whatever we are sensing the heat, no, that is like IR radiation. That also part of electromagnetic waves only. So infrared radiation. So through that thermal radiation, heat will be transferred. Apart from that, between the heating source and the food object, there is a medium called air. So we know atmosphere is there, air is there, that will act as a medium to transfer the heat. So both are involved in conventional oven. Thermal radiation also involved, and also convection. That is, heat is transferred from the heating source to the object. I mean, food or whatever food we are keeping. That here in this case is potato. So through the air also it will be transferred. So that will be called convection. So instead of air, if you are using any metal, means we will call it as conduction. Okay. So radiation, conduction, convection, those three methods, the heat will get transferred. So in this conventional, heat will be transferred via radiation and convection, because heat is transferred to air. So how microwave oven differs from conventional oven? Because here heating occurs throughout the food, but how it happens, it starts from the center and it goes towards the external surface of the potato here. So you can see the graph here. Center will be 100 degrees Celsius. If we go towards the outer surface, it will be 50 degrees Celsius at the edge. That means relatively cold at the outer surface. Center is hot here. In previous case, center is cold. So why it is happening? Because we will go in detail into that. Just I'll give you an overview. Because of the microwave radiation. So there we have seen thermal radiation and convection, heating is happened. Here, because of the microwave radiation, the heating starts within the food, because microwave can pass through the food because of the shortest wavelength, I mean relatively. But if you compare with the electromagnetic spectrum, that is having bigger wavelength. Gamma rays will be shortest wavelength. But when compared to this one for the food, the microwave is like, what to say, it will penetrate to the food, and inside it starts to boil it up. So how it is boiling that and what is happening behind that microwave cooking, we will see in the next slide. So in the next slide, we will see how this microwave cooking happens from the center of that food to the outer surface of the food. How it is happening, we'll see. Because all the food we use is in the assumption that is having water content. So with that assumption only, microwave oven works. When you are keeping a food without water content, then this microwave will never cook that food. That is one more new information, like frozen, like deep, what to say, ice cream. If we keep, it won't cook that. So wherever that water molecule is there in the food, so it can, microwave oven can help to boil that food for us. So how it does, we'll see. So with the assumption that all the food is having maximum amount of food, what we are using is having that water molecule. So because of that, this microwave help us to cook the food. So we will see how this water molecule play that, plays a significant role in cooking our food. Since the water molecule is polarized, when I say polarized, The water molecule, totally it is neutral. Okay, totally, if you see the whole molecule, 2 hydrogen atom, 1 oxygen atom. If it is total, it is neutral. Always it will be neutral because we are taking 2 neutral hydrogen atom, we are adding with the single oxygen atom. So we are forming a molecule, or definitely molecule will be neutral only. There will not be any positive or negative charge. But with that molecule, relatively throughout the distance between the hydrogen and oxygen, if you see, there will be a polarity. That is, the top end of the molecule will be positive. What I mean by top end is the hydrogen side. Where the hydrogen side is somewhat positive polarity, the oxygen side will be negative polarity. So we call these types of molecules polar molecules, since the charges got polarized. So why it happens, this polarization? For that, you have to go to the chemistry of this electronic configuration of oxygen, and how this screening happens. So those things are required. So let me just give a brief overview about that. So oxygen atom consists of 8 electrons, so that it having 8 protons. So 16 will be its mass number, I guess. So this 8 electron is arranged in the oxygen atom using this electronic configuration. I assume you should know from the Aufbau's principle and Pauli's exclusion principles. So let me not go into that, because otherwise the subject gets deviated, distracted. That we will cover separately. Just I'll give you overview. So the electrons will be arranged as per the principle, Pauli's exclusion principle and Aufbau's principle, in the 1s subshell and the 2s, 2p subshells and the 2p orbitals. So 2p subshell is having the 3 orbitals. So the first orbital will having, each orbital having one known electron, and the first orbital having another electron with the opposite spin. So with that, this electronic configuration of oxygen is completed. So what I mean to say, in the outer shell, still further 2 electrons can sit, okay, because the 2 orbital is having only one known electron. So the further 2 electrons can occupy that position. So in order to make you clear, so let me write here. So 1s will be up electron, down electron, then 2s, 2p. So this is also up electron. What I mean here is 2 electrons, the opposite spin. The 2p having 3 orbitals. S will have only 1 orbital. P subshell having 3 orbitals. What is this orbital? What is this subshell? What is this number 1 and 2? If I go into that, so we can't complete this course. For that, you should refer what is those things. So I'll just give an overview. So these are the electronic configuration. It's common for all the atoms and elements. So for oxygen atom, I'm writing this. Since oxygen atom is having 8 electrons, so I am going to put that 8 electrons in these subshells and the orbitals. So P is having 3 orbitals. So it will start to fill like this, 3 electrons. Then, so how many electrons over? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 8th electron will sit here with opposite spin. So with that, 8 electrons are completed. But the 2p orbital is having this single electron is there. No? So it can accommodate 1 more electron. This also can accommodate 1 more electron. With that, it will become a complete, I mean, the p orbital will be completely closed. So it needs the electron. So there is an electron affinity for the oxygen atom. It needs 2 electrons to be a complete, what to say, I can't say to become neutral. As per the electronic configuration, it needs to be complete. So for that, it can accommodate another 2 electrons. So that 2 electrons can be offered by this hydrogen atom, because hydrogen atom, if you see, it is having 1 electron. So if you put the electronic configuration, so only 1 electron is here. So it also can accommodate 1 more electron. Okay. So hydrogen atom needs 1 more electron. And this 2p orbital of the oxygen atom also needs 2 electron. So what happens? This oxygen atom and 2 hydrogen atom can have this covalent bond. So mutual sharing can happen and it become a complete stable molecule. So like that only molecules forms. Why molecules are forming? Why can't atom can sustain as a stable atom? Atoms are stable electrically, but chemically, if you see, it needs to form as a molecule because of this electronic configuration, because there is a need for electrons. For the, if you consider this electronic configuration, there are empty orbitals. So it can take the electrons, become a complete orbital. So there is a demand for electrons. So these atoms can join together and form a complete stable chemical element like water molecule. So this hydrogen atom and this oxygen atom, these are 2 hydrogen atom, can share each electron here. So with the single oxygen atom, so we are having this water molecule. So we can see, I just explained the sharing here. I didn't explain apart from that, just the covalent bond I explained. Why it needs to share, why there is a need or a demand to share with the oxygen atom for the hydrogen atom, because of this electronic configuration. There is an empty seat. It needs an electron for it. Hydrogen also needs an electron, then oxygen also needs an electron. When it is sharing, so both can be like win-win. Okay, win-win is happening here. Hydrogen also happy, oxygen also happy. So if you consider only hydrogen atom, so you can see 2 electrons are there. If you consider only oxygen atom, you can see 8 electrons are there. So both are win-win, like win-win case. So in this case, what's happening? Because of the screen sharing, oxygen nucleus having only 8 proton. Okay, the proton is not increasing, only electrons have been increased. So now it is having 8 electron, 10 electrons, because 2 electrons it got shared. Now it is having 10 electrons in the total 10 electrons for the oxygen atom. So what will happen? The negativity of the oxygen atom increases. Okay, so 8 proton can shield only 8 electrons. So remaining 2 electrons will be like left out. So that pair of electrons like will give you the negativity for oxygen atom. So here what happens? Since the hydrogen atom has given off its 1 electron to the oxygen atom, so the proton is left out, 1 proton. So here also 1 proton. So this proton is having positive of it. So because of this electronic configuration and the covalent bond, we are having this polarity. So this is called polar molecules, and these hydrogen molecules are polarized. So positive at one end and negative at another end. Are we clear here? So still we not get into the physics of microwave magnetron. Only we are stuck with the chemistry of hydrogen molecule. Okay, can we progress, guys? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what happens when we are sending this electromagnetic wave radiation? So in this case, microwave to the, through that food. So since the food is having this hydrogen, water molecule, and the water molecule is polarized, that is more important. And the water molecule is polarized, positive at one end and negative at another end. So it creates this dipole moment. We'll call this as dipole moment. What is dipole moment? When the 2 charges are separated, there will be this dipole moment. Okay, it can be both a positive charge and negative charge. When 2 charges are separated, it creates a moment, dipole moment. So that you will be reading in physics what is dipole moment. So just for the name, knowing purpose, know this fancy name, dipole moment. When the 2 charges are separated or polarized, we will get this dipole moment. So now you know this positive negative charge is there, and we are sending this electromagnetic waves through our food. So what happens? The electromagnetic waves is having electrical field and magnetic field. We know electromagnetic waves are nothing but the disturbance in both electric and magnetic field. So because of this disturbance in the electrical magnetic field, we are going to disturb this polar molecules. That is our water molecule. Since the water molecule is polarized and is having a dipole moment, that is charge is flowing from here to there, positive to negative. So we are also having electric field here, and here we are having electric field in our microwaves. So what will happen? Obviously, you can expect it's going to interact with this. When there is an changes in the electric field in our microwaves, obviously this water molecule also going to react further. We're going to see, and we are in our microwave one. We are sending the microwave at the frequency of 2.4 gigahertz. That means for a second, it's gonna oscillate. 2.4 billion times it's gonna oscillate per second. What our electric and magnetic is gonna oscillate. Just a second, 2.4 billion times it's gonna oscillate our electric field. So that much time this molecule will be rotated back and forth 2.45 times per second. So because of this rotation, and there is a vibration in the water molecules, temperature will increase, because temperature is nothing but the vibration of the molecules, vibration of the atoms. So since the change in the electric and magnetic field, because our electric and magnetic field is continuously pulsating at the frequency of 2.45 gigahertz. So what will happen? So since the electric field points in this direction and our dipole moment is points in this direction, so what will happen? It will try to push that field. because positive is going in this direction. No? So it will try to push that. It will try to push the positive away and negative towards that. Try to whenever, so you can consider the electric field is this direction, consider positive is here, negative is here. Okay. So negative water will happen, it will repel. So positive, I mean negative will repel, positive will repel. So that what will happen? This the dipole moment of the water molecule will react for this oscillation. So it will start to rotate, but not completely rotate to 180° to align with the electric field, but 90° it will oscillate because of the bond, hydrogen bonds with the other water molecules. It can't rotate 180°. So in order to align with the electric field, someone will try to align. So that's what happening here. So it will try to align. So only 90° it's coming. It can't completely align with our water molecule. I mean, it's not completely aligned with our electric field of the electromagnetic waves. So because of this vibration of 2.4 billion times per second, so our water molecule is vibrating and the hydrogen bonds between the molecules are getting disrupted and the temperature is increasing. Why? What is the connection between vibration and temperature? Anybody knows? You would have read in your
heat is caused when atoms move more quickly.
Yeah, okay. But what standard you are? 5th standard, right?
Yeah.
Okay. In 6th standard,
I haven't learned about this yet, but I learned it from YouTube.
Okay. So in 6th or 7th, I guess I assume you may read about kinetic theory of gases. So in that kinetic theory of gases, they're gonna teach you what is the connection between this temperature and the kinetic energy of the molecule. Kinetic energy is nothing but half mv square. V is velocity of the molecule. So when the velocity of the molecule increases, that is in micro scale. So in macro scale, what you're gonna sense? You're gonna sense in rise in temperature. We cannot sense the motion of the molecule, but what we will sense the rise in temperature. That's what happening in microscopic world and macroscopic world. So microscopic world, when the molecules are jumping, what you're gonna sense in the macroscopic world? You're gonna sense the rise in temperature of the system, gas system. So this is called, we'll call as, this is related with the Boltzmann. Okay, the kinetic energy is proportional to temperature. It's called a Boltzmann law, I guess. Okay, this is defined by Boltzmann. Kinetic theory of gas also proposed by Boltzmann only. So this proportionality constant will be Boltzmann constant, Kb. Okay, T is temperature. So kinetic energy is equal to temperature. So obviously, when the molecule, water molecule is vibrating, its kinetic energy is increasing. We are going to sense it as temperature. The temperature of food starts to increase. So that's what happening in the cooking in the microwave oven. Okay, fine. So with that, we can understand how microwave cook our food. So this start to cook from the inside of the food to the outside of the, because we can't find the water molecule at the outside of the food, but more water molecule will be available inside of the food. In our case, the potato. If you take potato, we'll have more water molecule inside. But if you go to the surface, the amount of water molecule less. So only temperature is more inside and it drops when it goes outside of the potato, outer layer of the potato. So that is the physics behind the cooking of microwave, using microwave. So now what produces this microwave in our oven? So this magnetron. So this magnetron is available behind our microwaves. You can check, but be careful with that. With the adult supervision, you can check that. So behind our microwave, this magnetron is there, this part. So this is one of the history's complex engineering they are telling. We are going to see in a few minutes how it is a complex engineering and how it made possible the production of microwaves and extensive usage in radar system. So this magnetron, so we call that as a magnetron. That system is called magnetron. The magnetron we are using to produce microwaves that we are using in microwave oven, and also it has been used in the radar. So the radar can send this microwave to detect the intrusion of any enemy aircrafts inside our atmosphere, so that they can give back the signal and they will launch the missile to attack the intruded enemy vehicle. So it's helped in so much in our defense and military, I mean army and all. So this magnetron. So for that purpose only it was designed initially. So the magnetron what we are using in our microwave is somewhat advanced magnetron, cavity magnetron. Just know this name, okay? Cavity magnetron. So what is cavity magnetron? That we'll see. So this is the, what to say, the parts made up of the magnetron if you dismantle. So this is the cooling fins. You can see, because the temperature, what to say, the heat transfer will be more if the surface area is more. So only if you are having any hot water, you have to spread it across your plate, then the water gets cooled on more, because more the surface area, more the contact with the atmosphere, so more the radiation, more the convection happens, so cooling will happen. So for that purpose, even though our this is called vacuum tube, we are going to see it soon. This vacuum tube is covered with this bigger plates of this cooling fins. Okay, it is called fins, cooling fins, and is stacked. Okay, like laminar surface, it has been stacked, so that it takes the heat from this vacuum tube and it will be radiated and convected through the air, and whenever the air comes to contact with it, it will take out the heat, so it cools down. So you would have observed these cooling fins in your automobile, I mean two-wheeler engines also, and many places you can see these cooling fins. So just see it, and we will explore it soon. And if you take the cooling fin out, this is the vacuum tube, and this is North Pole and South Pole, that is permanent magnet, and this is the case, and here only we are going to give the supply DC voltage of high voltage 2 kilovolt DC volt. We are going, so only it's very dangerous. So backside of the microwave, I mean without adult supervision you can't touch it. Adult also it's very dangerous for them, because we are dealing with the high voltage here. 2 kilovolt DC supply will be there. So with that only we are operating this magnetron, and this magnetron is producing microwaves inside our microwave oven. So we will now we are back to the basic principle. So this will never go away. Okay, last class also I taught you guys LC oscillation. So without LC oscillation, that is not the production of electromagnetic waves, because that is the greatest beauty in the LC circuit. Okay, this LC is like an amazing circuit. So before going to LC oscillation, let us see the equivalent of it in our mechanical world. So you take a roof, the spring, some mass. So some mass is connected to the spring. It's not a resistor. Okay, spring. Some mass is connected to the spring. It is hanging in the wall. When you try to pull the mass with a force, what will happen? You are doing a work. Okay, applying the force and moving the mass through some distance d. So work is force into d. You are doing some work. Against what? Against this spring, because spring will be like it wants to hold, but you are doing the work against the spring expands. So whatever work you are doing, that will be stored in the spring as potential energy. Okay, so when you release the force, what will happen? The spring will restore back the mass, whatever distance you extended. So it will be stored in the spring as a potential energy. When you release the force, that means when you leave the mass, it will go back to its initial portion. So who has done the work here? The spring has done the work. From where it got the energy? It got the energy from you only. You done the first work, I mean initial work, and it was stored in the spring. Again, it has been pulled back. But whether it's going to stop? No, it's going to oscillate back, because when the mass is going further upwards, it's going to compress the spring. Okay, when it is compressing, again it is storing the potential energy, and that potential energy again it is pushing the mass backwards. So like that, compression and expansion is happening for the spring. Whether it is gonna continue eternally, no. Because of what? Because of the friction inside the spring and the masses and the hinges, it's gonna radiate into heat. So whatever initial energy we given, it will damp slowly. So if you plot the graph, the oscillation will be like, so slowly it will damp. So it's not gonna continue. Okay. So the spring, this is like position. Okay, you can call it as the position, YA, and this is the time. So the position of the mass, if you plot against the time, so the graph will be like this. It's slowly damp. So it's called damped oscillation. Why it is damping? In ideal condition, it may oscillate when there is no friction. If you make the spring without friction and without any loss of energy, it's going to oscillate eternally, permanently. But this is not going to happen in reality. It's going to transfer as heat only. Because of second law also, whatever work we do, completely transfers heat only. So without, I mean, what to say, loss of heat, we can't save the complete energy at all. So that is called perpetual motion machine that you're gonna read in thermodynamics. So it says universal principle, whatever work we do, some amount of work will be wasted as heat. You can't save it at all. Okay, that is the inevitably it's gonna happen. That is the universal principle. So we're gonna lose the energy, it's gonna damp soon. So same way in our LC circuit, the capacitor and inductor, this is the inductor, this is the capacitor. This capacitor is fully charged, you assume. It's fully charged with plus and minus. And this charged capacitor, I'm connecting through the inductor. So what will happen? This charged capacitor is like some potential is there because two plates, no? So there is a potential difference. When there is a potential difference, when you're connecting through the circuit, what will happen? If the electron wants to go to the lowest potential, from highest potential to lowest potential, like high pressure to low pressure, how air is moving or water is moving, anything. So high potential to low potential, the electron starts to move. So that is nature. It won't sit there. So the electron starts to move. When the electron is moving to the high potential to low electric potential, it wants to go through this coil. So this is only biggest design, the inductor. When it is going through the coil, what happens? It increases the magnetic field. So you can ask me, what about the magnetic field in this wire? Here also magnetic field will be there. But since the coil acts like a bar magnet, why means all the magnetic fields are being joined. So it will become a huge magnetic flux. When we are making a coil, all these magnetic fields around the coil join and become a huge magnetic line. So when the current is, and the electron is moving from one higher potential to lower potential, the current is increasing. When the current is increasing, the magnetic field around this coil is increasing. So when the magnetic field is increasing, what happens? Anybody? When the magnetic flux linked with the coil increases, what happens? This one is a law told by someone. Guys, last class also we have seen in our RC tie car. When the magnetic flux linked with the coil increases, what happens?
Expands. Expands.
What will expand?
Coil.
No. Coil won't react because coil is made up of copper. Copper is not ferromagnetic. So magnetic field won't interact with copper. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. If you keep two, this interaction is purely magnetic. Okay. This magnetic field and copper will never interact because there is no ferrous ion, ferrous element in the copper. So only pure copper it is. And it's not going to, even though they're using a steel wire also, they are going to use an insulator. Okay. So what happens when the magnetic flux linked to the coil changes? EMF get induced, electromotive force get induced, Faraday's law. Okay, you can use it in a generator. People know a dynamo. In cycle, you have seen the dynamo, right? Anybody use that cycle with the dynamo? Nowadays, it's not there. In old cycle, there will be a dynamo. So when you're pedaling the cycle, that wheel will turn the dynamo and that will produce the electricity which will light our bulb. Okay, the bulb body is attached in front of the cycle. So the simple dynamo that is. So with our mechanical work only, we will generate electricity and the electricity will be used to power up the bulb. So the dynamo. So what's the principle of dynamo?
When it has some kind of like a wheel, and then when you turn the wheel, it'll generate the electricity.
Yeah, why it generates? Because what we are doing, we are ensuring the magnetic flux linked with the coil changes. So the whatever the wheel is changing, that inside the permanent magnet will be there, and that magnet will give the magnetic lines or magnetic flux that will be linked with the surrounding coil. When you're rotating the magnet, what will happen? The magnetic flux linked with the coil changes continuously. When it changes, it will induce the electromotive force, nothing but the voltage inside the coil. So there will be a potential difference and current starts to flow. So our mechanical work has been converted into electricity with the help of the magnet. Magnet is not doing any work. The magnet is having teeny tiny hands that will help to push the electrons, drive the electrons in our circuit. The empty circuit without any battery source, these teeny tiny magnetic hands will try to drive the electrons in our coil and generates the electricity. So how we are ensuring that a teeny tiny magnetic hands will do that? It will just keeping the magnet won't do that. you have to keep on change the magnetic field. When you keep on changing the magnetic field, that will interact with the electrons inside the coil, and it will drive the electrons into the coil. It creates the electric current inside the coil. If we keep the magnetic or a permanent magnet or bar magnet statically, nothing will happen. Okay, so that's what more important. Change in magnetic field induces the current. So here what is changing? Since the current flowing in the circuit is changing, current flowing in the circuit is changing because it's increasing. The electrons are, because the capacitor is fully loaded, capacitor is discharging, the current is increasing, so that the magnetic field linked to the coil is increasing, and there will be an induced voltage. So whatever current this wants to drive to the lower potential, it wants to do a work. Same way in our spring case, whatever work I am giving against the spring is trying to hold it back, but I am doing against the spring, and that work is stored in the spring as a potential energy. So same way, the higher potential to lower potential, the electron wants to move, but what is stopping? The increase in magnetic field in the inductor is stopping. Stopping means it's, as per Faraday's law, it is producing the back EMF. It wants to stop that. That is Lenz's law. Why you want that? You have to read what is Lenz's law. Whatever the cause, it will oppose. So the cause is increase in magnetic field, induce the current. That current will go in such a direction to oppose the change. So our electrons from the capacitor, wants to work against this back EMF, and it goes to this lower potential. So the work is stored in this inductor in the form of magnetic field. Okay, in the form of magnetic field, our work is stored, and it reaches the lower end. All the charges get discharges, and our work is stored in the form of magnetic field, and it reaches the lower potential, and the capacitor become neutralized. So now the charges in the capacitor got completely discharged. The capacitor is having no voltage difference. So no more current flow will happen in the circuit. So what will happen in the built-up magnetic field here? It starts to collapse. What was happening before? The magnetic field was increasing. Now, since there is no current, the magnetic field starts to collapse. So when the magnetic field starts to collapse, it is also change. What do we call this change? Decrease in magnetic field. So Faraday is telling change in magnetic field. He is not talking about increasing or decreasing. Change in magnetic field induces the current. Whether it is increasing or decreasing, it's going to induce the current. So now the magnetic field is collapsing. Its magnetic field is decreasing. When the magnetic field is collapsing, again it starts to induce the current. Now without this potential difference also, this inductor ensures that drives the current here in this direction. Okay, it drives the current in this direction and starts to load the charges in the capacitor, like our spring case. Just to give an initial work and left, and the spring done, pulled our mass back again, and it's going to oscillate. Why it is oscillating? Whatever the spring pulled the mass, it start to compress because of the inertia. It's going to stop exactly the same position from where we pulled. It's going to go further above that. So because of that compression, again work is done. Again the energy is stored. Okay, so again it's going to give back. So it's going to keep on oscillate. Same way, when the fully loaded capacitor discharges, it's stored its energy in the magnetic field. When the capacitor is completely discharges, magnetic field start to collapse. Again, it drives the current back to the capacitor, and the capacitor start to charge. When it is charging, again there is a potential difference. Again, it will drive the current back. So there will be an oscillation of current here. It discharges, stores in inductor, again charges. So capacitor and inductor both act as an oscillator, like mass and spring in our mechanical case. In equivalent, electrical equivalent is inductor and capacitor. It's going to give us the electrical oscillation, but it starts with the initial charge. Like initially you should do work. If you don't do work against the mass, that mass is going to hang just like that. So initial potential difference cause this continuous oscillation. It's going to continue in eternity, but in ideal case. But in practically, this whatever oscillation is going to damp because of radiation. Since the charge is oscillating, the oscillated charges produce electromagnetic waves. As we have seen in our last class also, what produce electromagnetic waves? Accelerated charges produce electromagnetic waves. So in the LC circuit, the charges are oscillating. It's going to produce the electromagnetic waves, and it's going to lose its energy finally. So nothing will be there to start over again. So this is theory part of LC. oscillator LC circuit. But how we are going to achieve that without getting damped, without losing the energy? So that is only our next design part comes. So basic is this one. In order to produce electromagnetic waves, you need accelerated charges. We are producing the accelerated charges by using this LC oscillation. But this LC oscillation will not happen eternally. It's gonna damp. But how we are going to ensure that without damping, how to maintain this oscillation so that I can tap the electromagnetic waves and give it to our microwave oven. So that is the purpose of the next slide. So this is the practical design. So just follow me. So now we have seen about LC circuit, just forget about that. Just follow this now. Finally, we will touch that, how the LC circuit appears there. So this is the filament and this is the cathode. So filament is a tungsten filament. You know, all in our electrical bulb will be there. Tungsten filament, the old bulb. Nowadays, all LED and those things. The old electrical bulb, tungsten filament will be there. And this cathode, why it is called cathode? Because here I am connecting with the negative terminal of the battery. If you take a battery of plus and minus, the negative terminal I'm going to connect with this cathode. Okay, this complete cathode is going to negative terminal. So this is somewhat high voltage, high DC volt, and this negative terminal gonna supply electrons towards this cathode. And because of the heating of this filament, here it won't heat. This coil only gonna heat because it's made up of tungsten. And that means high resistance is there. So when the electrons move to high resistance because of Ohm's law, when the high resistance and the more, more voltage drop will be there, and the heat energy will be I square RT. So the more current it takes because of the high resistance, and the heat energy dissipated will be more. So it starts to glow. So our purpose is not making a bulb. We are using this filament, and this inside the filament there is this cathode. And the cathode also, the electrons get stored. Electrons accumulated inside the cathode, and the filament is heated up. Because of the heat, this electron starts to come out of the cathode, emitted. The electron starts to thrown out because of the heat. Because it absorbs the energy. No, when it absorbs energy from the heat, what will happen? It starts to vibrate, as we have seen in the previous case. Kinetic energy is related to temperature. When the temperature increases, the electron starts to jump off from the cathode. Because the electron will be accumulated at the tip of the cathode. Because of the heat, this electron starts to jump out from the cathode and starts get emitted. This is called, we call this thermionic emission. What it is? Thermionic emission. Are you guys with me? See, these small blue balls are electrons. So the electrons have been going through this cathode because of the heat in the filament, and the heat energy is absorbed, and the electrons start to jump off. Are you guys with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this process is called thermionic emission. We are now successfully produced the electrons from this cathode. But this electrons not gonna go permanently away. Okay. It's gonna come back to this cathode only. It's gonna take its path because it's connected to the positive terminal also, no, somewhere circuit. So it's gonna come back. It's not gonna stay forever. But our purpose is what? We want to accelerate the charges so that we can produce the electromagnetic waves. We got the charges, but it's not accelerating. Okay. Just we emitted the charges. It's not accelerating at all. So now our next step should be accelerate these charges in order to produce the electromagnetic waves. So what we have to do? This should be covered with an anode. So when the anode is covered, the electron starts to move towards the anode. So it's emitted from the cathode. It tries to accelerate towards the anode. So we successfully accelerate the electron so we can produce the electromagnetic waves. So that's what happening here. So this is the anode, and our cathode is there. It's emitting electron because of the thermionic emission. And because of the thermionic emission, it's emitting electron, and the anode is positively connected to the positive terminal of our high DC volt battery, and this electron start to move towards this anode. Okay, from low potential to high potential. All the electron try to move towards anode. It's accelerating towards the anode. So we can successfully produce the electromagnetic waves. So, but this is not sufficient. Okay. Even though we produce electromagnetic waves of frequency 2.45 gigahertz, even though it is classified as microwave, this microwave is not sufficient to boil our food. Why? Because it's not carrying that energy. So what determines the energy of a wave? The amplitude. You can see the electromagnetic waves. I mean, this is just like this is called transfer waves. This I only drawing the electrical field because that is only going to work for us. So if you increase the amplitude of the electromagnetic wave, electromagnetic wave, that is our microwave, the frequency will remain same. The wavelength will remain same. Only the amplitude will increase. So our energy will increase. So we can produce high energy, high electric field electromagnetic waves that will interact with the dipole moment of our water molecule very effectively, efficiently. So that's gonna produce more heat. So with all the microwaves, we can't heat our food. First understand that. Even though the frequency is same, all the microwave is not same. We can produce high energy to low energy microwaves the same frequency also, only by increasing the amplitude. So this emission of electromagnetic is not sufficient, even though it's a microwave. So what we want to do, we want to accelerate this electron further. So how we are going to achieve that? There only our permanent magnet comes into picture. Are you with me? Because slowly we are going step by step. There is a cause and effect, like that I'm connecting the chain. Why we are going to next level in the design. Are you guys with me? Guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay, shall I ask some question? Can you guys answer me whether you understood or not? Why we are going for a permanent magnet? Even though we produced electromagnetic waves in this case. The cathode emitted the electron and the anode absorbed. The electrons got accelerated, the charges got accelerated, the accelerated charges produce electromagnetic waves principally. But why we want to go for magnet now? Why I'm not satisfied with the existing electromagnetic waves?
What is amplitude? This
Amplitude is like the peak of that magnetic waves, electromagnetic waves. See, any waves, no, if you consider just for a theory purpose, any wave, this is called amplitude, the peak of the pulse. And this point to this point is called wavelength. Sorry. This point to this point. Distance between two peaks is called wavelength. Okay.
yes.
So this peak position is called amplitude. If you ensure this high amplitude, then your energy is more for the given wave. But the wavelength remains same. So obviously frequency also remains same. Because C equal to nu lambda. The velocity of the light, the velocity of the wave is always constant. Then frequency and wavelength. Since the wavelength is same, frequency also should remain same in order to keep the velocity constant. So only by increasing the amplitude, we can increase the energy. By increasing the frequency also, we can increase the energy. X-rays and gamma rays are high energy waves. But I am not talking about that. I am talking about within the microwaves only with the same frequency, how to increase the energy by increasing the amplitude of the electromagnetic wave. For that only, we are going to next level. That is adding the permanent magnet. What it does, see these yellow arrows are magnetic field lines. So this is North Pole, this is South Pole. So magnetic lines will flow from North to South Pole. Permanent magnet we are using. So what it does, we are ensuring the charges, movement of charges within the magnetic field. So some force will act. You would have read this. Anybody is from 10th standard?
No, sir.
Nobody is from 10th. Okay. So this is called motor principle. A DC motor, how it works. When you keep the current carrying conductor inside the magnetic field, the force acts on the conductor and starts to rotate. The reversal of dynamo. The mechanical work is converted into electricity in generator or dynamo, and the electricity is converted to mechanical work in motor. How we are ensuring that? When the current carrying conductor is kept between the magnetic field, some force will act on the conductor. So that is the DC motor principle. So here, the charges are moving inside the magnetic field. So the movement of charge is nothing but the current, because electron, for current, what is responsible? Movement of electron only. So electron is moving from cathode to anode radially, but I am ensuring it is moving within the magnetic field by keeping these bar magnets, North Pole and South Pole. So when it is moving towards the magnetic field, here Fleming left-hand rule we are going to use. Anybody aware of Fleming left-hand rule?
No.
No. Okay, fine. So it will tell us when you keep a current carrying conductor inside a magnetic field, wherever the force will act on the current carrying conductor. So if it represents the current carrying in the middle finger, the index finger represents the magnetic field. This thumb will represent the direction of the force. So mutually perpendicular, 3 perpendicular. So further they'll use this Fleming left-hand rule. So in our case, the magnetic field is upward direction. The electron is moving radially, and there will be a force which will push the electrons. So our electrons it's not going radially towards the anode. It's going circularly because it has been acted upon by a force. This force is called a Lorentz force. This is all you're going to read. So this Lorentz force. So when the charge is moving inside the magnetic field, the force acts on the charge because of this Lorentz. This is called Lorentz magnetic force. And the direction of the force is given by Fleming's left-hand rule. And the charge takes this curved path. It's not going to go radially towards the anode. It will go radially towards the anode when there is no magnetic field. But now I ensure there is a magnetic field. So when there is a magnetic field, the force acts on the charge and it's going to take a curved path. Now I increase the interaction space. Whatever this hole is there, this I'm calling interaction space. This is fully filled with vacuum. I can't allow the atmosphere inside that. Otherwise, my electron will be absorbed by the air molecules or interact with that. So I'm ensuring everything is happening inside the vacuum. That is no air at all, ideally. So inside the vacuum, this is called vacuum tube. So inside the vacuum, this is happening. And this space is called interaction space. That is interaction between the cathode, electrons from the cathode to anode. I'm increasing the time so that it will take this curvilinear path. Because of that, the acceleration increases and it produces better electromagnetic waves compared to the previous one. Now I am able to generate more electromagnetic waves. That what I mean, more strength. Amplitude is increasing. Superposition, you can keep on add. When you keep on add the waves, the amplitude increase, not the frequency will increase. Okay. Superposition of waves will ensure the amplitude of the waves increase, not the frequency or wavelength of the waves increase. So because of the superposition of the electromagnetic waves from the acceleration of, because I increase the interaction space so that I ensure the time, like more time it takes to reach the anode. So the acceleration of the electron is increasing and it produces the better waves form. That is high amplitude electromagnetic waves form. That is same microwaves only with high amplitude. Up to this, everyone is clear?
Okay, sir. Sir, so acceleration increases and energy increases.
Acceleration increases, it produces the disturbance in electrical magnetic field. First, you understand basic definition of radiation, how electromagnetic waves produced because of the acceleration of charges, it produces the disturbance in electric and magnetic field. That disturbance like a ripples in the electric and magnetic field that we are observing as electromagnetic waves. That is the definition of radiation. So where is this electric and magnetic field is there? In the charge only. When the charge is moving, it is like a tiny current. Whenever there is a current, there will be magnetic field, Ampere's law. Okay. So Ampere's law is telling whenever there is a current, it will be associated with the magnetic field. So when the charge is accelerating, it creates a disturbance both electric and magnetic field, and that disturbance is propagating like electromagnetic waves. Okay, so that is a basic principle. So now we are ensuring the high acceleration of electron, and because of that, we can produce high amplitude electromagnetic waves. Okay. Okay, guys. So this is called Hull magnetron. Hull is not some noun, it's the name of a person, Albert W. Hull, who has invented this Hull magnetron. Okay, now initially we have seen LC oscillation, but still we are not producing efficient waves. Here only the next part is coming, cavity magnetron. So, so far we have seen how this magnetron is developed to this stage. This is called Hull magnetron. but the next design only themselves are not expected. It's going to have this breakthrough in the design. Because of the small change in the design, it created the biggest breakthrough, and they can able to achieve the reliable and high efficient microwaves. That is the magic. In the next slide, you will see what they did. Instead of the solid anode, they made some grooves. They cut some grooves. Okay. So because of that, because of this design, it created a revolution in the production of microwaves using magnetron. So what this design does, we will see. That is only the greatest breakthrough in the history of engineering. So they're telling some 8 wonders in engineering. This is one of the wonders they're calling. So because of this cavity, creation of the cavity in the anode, what happens? Just we'll monitor the motion of one electron. Still magnetic fields are there. Don't think that I removed the magnetic field. Still that yellow lines are there. It is covered with the permanent magnet only. It's going to ensure the interaction, I mean, more timing in my interaction. Obviously, it's going to take a circular path. It's going to directly reach the anode because of the magnetic field and the Lorentz force acts as per the Fleming's left-hand rule. It's going to take a circular path. And when it is before reaching the anode, let us monitor, track the motion of one electron, what happens. So when the one electron is moving, because of these cavity surfaces, it's going to induce charges on the surfaces. Okay, that is the property of the surface. You can see the electrostatics, you can see the sharp points on the surface will carry the charges. Okay, so only they will use for thunder and all, I mean lighting and all. In the top of the building, lighting arrestor will be there, like sharp points they will keep. That will take the lighting, because there only it will take all the charges. The sharp points will store the charges. Same with surfaces. So this is electrostatics. So when the electron is coming closer towards these grooves, that means these cavities, it creates the charges. Is this negative? So what will happen? It will attract the positive charges here. It will pull the negative charges away. So this will be positively charged, these surfaces. Surface only, not the core of this cavity. The surfaces will be positively charged because of this movement of this electron. And the negative charge will be what happened? It will be because of the creation of the positive charge, negative charges will be created here on the surfaces. Okay. How the negative charge is created? Because the electrons will be pushed and it's moved throughout the surfaces and it will be accumulated here. So this electron ensured the creation of positive and negative charges because of the motion of this. I mean, the electron will move from here to there and will accumulate here. And when the electron comes here and keep on flowing and still not reach the anode, when it comes here, this will repel the electron from the surfaces and it starts to move from here to there. So what's happening? We are creating a capacitor here. How we created a capacitor? Because of the motion of this electron, it created the charges on the surfaces. This is the positive plate, this is the negative plate, and this is the wire. You can consider connecting these two capacitors. So the cavity surface acts like a capacitor and is connected through this wire. We are going to call this as inductor because it's act like an inductor. The charges have been created and the charge start to discharge from this to positive to negative because of the difference in potential, as we have seen in our LC oscillation. In LC oscillation, because of the difference in potential, the charge start to flow. When it is flowing from the low potential to high potential, it stores in the magnetic field. And when it stores in the magnetic field, when the charges get neutralizes, what will happen? The magnetic field starts to collapse. Again, it will ensure the flow of current. It's gonna oscillate. Plus and minus is gonna oscillate. But only with these two surfaces gonna oscillate? No. Whenever there is a what is it? Cavity-less surface means?
Without these cuts and
Yeah. These cuts will like ensure the charges are getting accumulated there because of the atomic structure. No, you have to go to the interior level, that is the atomic level. Because of the cuts, the charges will be like you can say in the molecular structure, atomic structure, there will be the surface charges. Now also they're telling now when you are actually touching, you are not touching the object. Our charge is only interacting. Actually, it's repelling each other. When I'm touching your skin, my skin, if in microscopic level, see my skin is not actually touching. The electric field in outside the surface will just interacting with the electric field of your surface, and it is acting that. So that only are sensing. So physical touch is not happening at all anywhere with any object. Only we are interacting with these charges. The charges will be stored in the surfaces because of the arrangement of the structures, molecular structure, atomic structure. So that is separate. But if you go crystallography, everything that just remember this. The surfaces will possess the charges because of the structure, atomic structure, and it is easy to pull off the electron charges from the atomic structure on the surface and the points, not in the core. Core will be completely bounded, but on the surface it's easy to pull off the charges, okay, with the external field. So this electron acts like an external field, externally a negative field that ensures the creation of positive charge on the surfaces. This ensures the creation of negative charge on surfaces, and these two acts like a capacitor. And because of the capacitor, what will happen? It is connected through this wire. Assume this as an inductor, and starts to discharge from low end to high potential, low potential, and the current flow will stores in the magnetic field, and again the magnetic field drives the current back. So it starts to charge and discharge will happen. But this is not a damp. But this damping will be undamped because I am continuously producing the electron from the cathode. That is the overall principle of this. But here, when I created this field, what about these cavity surfaces? This positive charge will ensure here also creation of negative charges on the surface. This negative will create positive charge on the surfaces. So like that, all the cavity surface will be charged because of single electron movement. All the surface will be oppositely charged. Positive and negative will be charged. And this acts as a pair of capacitors. So that only we are seeing here. Okay. So the movement of the electron, single electron, created the surface charges in the opposite polarity in order to cancel the effect of all the electric field, because that's only happens, no, because it won't like create additional electric field. It wants to cancel the electric field. So all the electric will be neutralized. So it will ensure the opposite polarity on other cavity surfaces. See, plus means minus, minus means plus. So like it will be wants to neutralize it. But these acts like a pair of capacitors. So the cavity will be always in even numbers, multiples of 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So here 5 pairs are there, right? So each pair is connected to these curved surfaces. We can call this as inductor. So as we have seen on LC circuit, this will act like an LC circuit for us now. It will ensure the oscillation of charges. The charge is gonna oscillate between these cavity surfaces. This charge is gonna oscillate. When it is oscillating, it's storing in the magnetic field, and again it's driving the current back and forth. So, but this is gonna damp. As we have seen in the previous case, the oscillation won't sustain, it's gonna damp. But in this case, center, we are continuously producing the electrons. So we are continuously creating the field, and we are ensuring there is no damping in the creation of charges on the surfaces and subsequent oscillation, LC oscillation. So whenever there is oscillation, oscillating charges, as we expected, will produce electromagnetic waves. That is the theory of radiation. And we are tapping that through the antenna. With this metal loop, we will tap, and that will be radiated as electromagnetic waves. Because here also, this metal loop also, there will be a charge, will be flowing and coming. Because it's connected to the one of the cavities, it will be going and coming, these charges. The oscillating charges produce the electromagnetic. How it is going to oscillate? Based on this frequency only. In what frequency it's oscillating, that frequency will oscillate. Because of the oscillation, it will produce the electromagnetic wave. Accelerated charges produce electromagnetic waves. So we have successfully produced the electromagnetic waves. So here, what will happen to the other electrons? We have just monitored the motion of one electron. So what will happen to the other electrons? Since the one electron has created the surface charges in all the cavity surfaces in the opposite polarity, the other electrons, when it is coming, it wants to go to the positive only. It will not go to negative. Negative will repel. It will try to go to the positive. So it will form a spoke wheel pattern. Okay, you can see here how it forms. The production of further electron, it search for the positive field because it attracts. The negative field repels, the positive field attracts. So it will search for it. It will make the spoke wheel pattern. But whether it's going to stay there as it is, no, because our charges on the cavity surface are oscillating, LC oscillation happening. So it starts to rotate. The spoke will rotate. This plus will become minus. That time it will pull. It will push. This minus will become plus. It will pull. So push and pull happen. Our spoke will start to rotate. Okay. So the inside there is a vacuum tube. The spoke wheel formation of electrons start to rotate, and that will ensure the undamping charging of the surface of the cavity surfaces and the subsequent LC oscillation in the anode and cathode. In the anode only LC oscillation happening, that will be tapped through the metal loop, and the antenna will be given off as a electromagnetic waves. So here I have shown, here it is shown as the donkey chasing the carrot. No matter how many steps the donkey take, it's not gonna get that carrot. Like that only, how much time it rotates, it's not gonna reach the positive charge, but these electrons will be used. Whenever the oscillation damps and the charge is depleting, this electron will create the field here and the subsequent charging of these surfaces. So our LC oscillation will never damp as in the previous case. It's going to be sustained. Sustained LC oscillation maintained because of this spoke wheel rotation. Okay, guys. Are we clear? We produced the sustained electromagnetic waves from this vacuum tube. That's it. That is the whole physics behind the magnetron, and this very complicated design. See this why I'm telling complicated. This they are calling as electron resonator. We are making the resonation using electrons. This they never expected. Not with some circuit, inductor and capacitor. With the cavity design, they generated a capacitor, and with this inductor, it's like equivalent. And how this charge is happening because of the movement of the electron. So they're called as electron resonator. This is, and the resonating frequency is happening because of this. So themselves, they don't know, engineers, whoever designed this, themselves, they got amazed by this property. And this was designed by UK scientists. And when it was transferred to US, and they have taken a lot of time to understand what is happening into this cavity. They can use that, but they never know what is happening into the cavity magnetron. Then only they understood the physics behind it. It acts like an LC oscillator. Until then, they never know what is happening. What is the physics behind this? So it ensured the high energy microwaves. High energy, what I mean, not high frequency. High energy means high amplitude microwaves. With that, it boils our food. Okay, guys. Any questions? See, you take some wheel. Okay, some bead I'll put here. So it is in some gravitational potential. That is some on the earth gravitational potential. So the bead is here. It start to slide, right? Then come back to the point. And again it will. So whether this rotation will happen continuously or it's going to stop. First of all, whether
it's going to stop.
Why?
Because friction is there.
Yeah.
And gravity is pulling on it. So it will come in.
You understand, gravity is not anything. Gravity is helping. We done the work. Taken the bead. I kept this position. So some height I moved. I done some work. And the work is stored here as a potential energy. When it is sliding, it's converting as a kinetic energy. Because of the nature, again, it's going up. And stored as because again, it's doing work against the gravitational potential, stored as a potential energy. Again, it's coming on kinetic energy, doing the work against the gravity. So it should happen. But why it is not happening? Because of the friction, the heat, the whatever initial work I done, that has been dissipated as heat. So this will gonna damp. That is what happening in LC circuit also. Initial charges, it's stored as a magnetic field inductor. The magnetic field again drives the current and makes the capacitor charge. And again, the discharge happens. It's going to oscillate. Should oscillate permanently. But why is not happening? Obviously, there is heat also one more role, and it's going to radiate as electromagnetic waves also. So radiation also happens. Heat also happens. So it's going to damp. So only our purpose to ensure that oscillation sustained. That's what we have done here. Okay. Otherwise, nature is helping. Wherever you find potential, we are going to exploit that. Gravitational potential, you can exploit. But this perpetual motion will never happen. That you're going to read in thermodynamics. It's called second law of thermodynamics. Perpetual motion never happen. Whatever work we do, some part will waste us heat only. You can't avoid that. Guys, that's it. Shall we end up?
Sir, I find it a little bit hard.
Who? Keshav? Yeah, because you are in 5th standard, right?
Yeah.
Why? Because the terminology, see, the science stuff, what will happen? We will use a lot of terminology. The terminology should be introduced to you first. If I start to introduce this terminology to you first, this class will not going to end. So only whenever there is a science, so some terminology should be having some definition. So with that only we have to start. So that is the drawback I can feel. Okay, your enthusiasm is correct. You have to attend every class, but try to understand and note down in notebook whatever terminology or not, it's not making sense to you. The words whatever I used, Fleming's left-hand rule, Lorentz magnetic force, and LC, what is inductor and capacitor. Those terminology will be new to you, right? And what is the electromagnetic waves? What is the disturbance? How charged?
Sir, I know what is electromagnetic waves.
Electromagnetic, you know how it is. The disturbance in electric and magnetic field, they're telling how it is produced. What is Faraday's law? What is Lenz's law? What is Ampere's law? So everything is interconnected. So everything, if I take, it's separate subject. Okay. So these terminals you note down and try to read. If you are having any doubt in each, then you ask that. Then I can give explanation towards that. Okay, Keshav. Okay, you say electromagnetic.
Okay, I'll try to learn it.
Yeah, electromagnetic waves. Okay, tell me what is electromagnetic wave?
Electromagnetic waves are like these waves that contain magnetic waves and electric waves.
No, partly correct, not 100%. It's not magnetic or electric waves. The disturbance in electric and magnetic field. But where is that field? It's not a pool of water to see that. If you are having any water, you put a stone under, you can see the ripples as a waves. But these are all not mechanical waves. Fields are there, they're telling, but nobody has seen the field, only we are experiencing it. Those fields, we are generating a ripple in the field. Disturbance in the field as an electric and magnetic field. We are creating a disturbance that we are sensing as electromagnetic waves, including our visible light, sunlight, whatever. No, it's completely is a part of electromagnetic spectrum. And this is happening because of the connection between electricity and magnetism. So what is the connection between electricity and magnetism? You have to go to electromagnetic induction, Faraday's law, Ampere's law, to start the history. Then it will be interesting to you to know that history. What is Ampere has done? What is Faraday has done? What is this dynamo? Then if you follow that, it will be interesting story. So you have to learn like history, the development of science. Then it will be interesting for you to learn the terminologies.